Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I really enjoyed that conversation with Tim Isbell. I can't wait to come back and have more conversations with him. Hey, my friend Lori Jackson, who is an independent missionary in Ukraine, posted something recently by Elie Wiesel. And for those of you who don't know who that is, he was a Romanian-born American writer. He was a Holocaust survivor, a Nobel laureate. And here's what he said. We must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes we must interfere. When human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy, national borders and sensitivities become irrelevant. I thought that was wonderfully said, and that's what I think about when I think about Ukraine. And without any further ado, let's move to my friend Lori Jackson, who's been on the show many times. Her and her team are involved in a volunteer effort referred to the UA Ants. They say they work from what is called the Ant Hill. We'll tell you more about that in just a second. But before we go any further, let me welcome Lori to the show. How you doing, Lori?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. I'm thankful to be here again, and just like you're reading about silence not being an option. And so thank you for not being silent on what's happening here.
As we have discussed many times in the past, and we won't go into it again today, but the politicization of the Ukrainian war is something that drives me crazy, because as a human who has gone through the worst natural disaster in American history here in coastal Mississippi, when I reflect about what you guys are facing every day in Ukraine, and now that I've gotten the opportunity to get to know you and people that you've introduced me to, you're Christians, you love your home, you love that country, you love freedom. And, as we learned after Hurricane Katrina, buildings don't make a community, the people do. And you're learning that sad lesson every single day, but it is reality. And what has happened there at the UA Ant effort is this accumulation of volunteers who have come together to help this country in so many different ways. When you're talking to someone about it, how do you refer to your effort?
So you already mentioned that we're the UA Ants, but we call our base here in Western Ukraine the Ant Hill. And so this is kind of where everything begins. And so we have internally displaced people who are living with us, and it's also where we send our drivers and out from to deliver aid and to help both civilians and military here in Ukraine. And so we just feel like we're a bunch of ants scattered all over the country, doing whatever we can, however we can to help.
Well, you're doing so much incredible work, and you've commandeered a hotel there. You've got so many people that are working. In fact, why don't we do this? Let's bring your friend into the conversation, who is coming to us from Lviv. And the Ant Hill is actually located in western Ukraine. That's as close as we are able to describe it. But why don't you, Lori, if you don't mind, introduce your friend?
So this is my friend Zhenya, and we actually met after the beginning of the full-scale invasion and quickly became ants together. He's one of our drivers. He helps deliver aid and is actually in Lviv now to meet his wife, and who has been across the borders in a safer place.
Yeah, so Zhenya, tell me about what did you do before the war?
So before the war, I was like digital marketing specialist, and that was my main profession. And that's what I did. I did Google Ads and a bunch of stuff like targeting ads and something else. That was my job.
Yeah. So, Laura, you've seen a lot of people like Zhenya who have come from all these incredible, some entrepreneurs, some, computer programmers, architects, all kinds of different people that you've seen. But that's just the way of the world. Whatever you were before, it only is going to aid you because you're smart and creative and innovative. And that's what you need now, isn't it?
Absolutely. Most of us joke all the time about in our past life, what we were doing and the ways that plays into our roles now.
Yeah. So talk to me about Zhenya.
Zhenya is I don't know, he's just the kindest person. And it just breaks my heart, the families that aren't together right now. And so I don't know, like y'all had met Andrei Skrichko before, and his wife and kids are across the border, and our friend Anya, who was on the show before, whose husband is not with them right now. And I feel like this is one of the biggest tragedies of the war, is that we are not with our families. But in that, we've become a family, and taking care of each other has become a vital role. And yeah, I think my life would be a lot harder if it weren't for people like Zhenya being in it now.
Well, how I met Lori, speaking of family, how I met Lori is that my cousin's daughter has adopted two boys from Ukraine, and she has and then she has a young girl who's actually staying with him now, and I keep up with them. She seems to be doing really well. But you lived a life of Christianity and helping bring families together, working with foster children, et cetera. That was your world before, and today it's just on steroids, really, when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of the same things. Zhenya helped me take a young lady and her son to the hospital in a nearby city to be able to get documents, to be able to travel in the same program that Yulia traveled in. And so, yeah, I'm able to do a lot of the things I was doing before, just in a completely different way, outlet.
So Zhenya, you're traveling essentially all over. Traveling is not necessarily easy, though, is it?
Yeah, but it's like the biggest part of our activities. Also, I'm in charge of legal documents now in our organization, because we have to be transparent and like for all our authorities and for people to join us and to help.
So Lori, as we've seen here from journalists who've gone through the country, the number of checkpoints along the way are pretty significant, aren't they?
There were more during the first several months than there are now. Now, mostly as you get further east in Ukraine, there are lots of checkpoints that you still go through, just to make sure that everyone who's traveling through is safe. Mm-hmm.
So how would you describe, Lori, the current thought? Where are people in their heads at this moment in the war? Are they just as resolved as they've ever been? Are they just as inspired as they've ever been? Or, sort of, what's the current state of affairs?
I think it depends on who you ask, probably, but I was visiting a military hospital last weekend, and the guys in the hospital are very confident in Ukraine's victory, even now, even with significant losses to their teams, to their health, to their, but still very sure of Ukraine's ability to win. And Ukrainians want to be Ukrainians, so I don't think they're going to stop until that is assured.
So Zhenya, you in your world, obviously radically different than it was prior to the war. Your resolve is as strong today as it ever was, I'm assuming.
Yep. We're all believing in our victory, and we're looking forward to achieve it. Also, we're very grateful for all of the international help and which we get from all over the world, and that's a big deal for us. Also.
Yes, I know it is. Are you able to follow the news from around the world, Zhenya, or you just don't have time to do that?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have the opportunity, sometimes not. But I try to look for it, because we're all waiting for like counteroffensive and like military aid, which we need to achieve it.
Yeah. Really important.
Really important.
We got a little bit of an echo, Kyle. Do you hear that? You see? Okay, there. I think it went away. There we go. So Lori, to give people an idea of the kind of efforts that you guys are engaged with, like, what are some of the activities happening today?
Well, we just actually finished up a huge Easter project that involved both military. We put on a big event for internally displaced people in our area to be able to come to. And then we had a really special Easter celebration just with the people who are actually living at our hotel, like kind of a family day. And we also sent out packages in Ukraine, they make Easter bread. And so we sent out packages both for our defenders and for civilians that included these special Easter breads and extra gifts and toys and things.
When we come back with my friend, a independent missionary from Ukraine, Lori Jackson, she's in Western Ukraine, where the Ant Hill, sort of their headquarters for their volunteer effort, is located, and Zhenya, who's from Lviv. We'll continue the conversation on the other side. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I have my dear friend, someone I admire greatly, Lori Jackson, who is an independent missionary in Western Ukraine. She's actually Ukraine, but she's located in Western Ukraine. And she has a friend who has joined her, and he is sitting in Lviv as we speak. I guess he came there to see your family. How often do you get to see him, Zhenya?
Not often. So I have, they moved on March 2022 to Germany because it's safe there. I have there like my wife, my son, who is 1.5 years, and I see them like for all this period, like for 1 month from starting the beginning of the war.
Yeah.
But they are in safe place, and it makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, God bless you, my friend. And as Lori said earlier, the biggest impact of this entire war has been on families. And, Lori, I think about the work that you guys are doing. What's interesting to me is that everyone is sort of rallied around what you refer to as the defenders, the people who are fighting for your land. And because you had to grow the number of people who were involved in the military there so rapidly, they didn't have all the tools they needed in every single case. And what you guys have done is try to keep sort of a running tally of what the needs are, and you use drivers to bring stuff to them. Tell us more about that.
Zhenya, that's all you. Zhenya.
Yeah.
Zhenya is one of our drivers. And yeah, so basically in the beginning, when people were coming to us with needs, we didn't know how to get people things other than to take it to them. And so our guys were like, well, we're going to take whatever they need. And Zhenya was one of the first to say, I'll go like anywhere, and has been everywhere.
Wow. Zhenya, I would assume that saying that you've been everywhere to help bring supplies and needed stuff to defenders, that has brought you to some very unsafe places?
Sometimes, yeah, but you have to do what you have to do, because we come to those places like for one time of like in a week and months, and there are people who are on the front lines every day, and we have to help them. We're like doing our little part to give them the ability to do what they have to do, and to make them like feel better and be safer.
Yeah,
on the front line.
Well, you as you mentioned, you have a digital marketing background, and so you know a lot about technology. But from prior conversations that I had with Lori, one of the interesting things about this war is the way you guys have been able to connect with each other. You with friends and family all over the place. Have you been able to maintain a relative ability to communicate?
Yeah, the main channels to communicate, we use Signal. It's a free app, and it's not Russian-based in terms of servers, so we use this. And sometimes Telegram, because it's has to be independent, but we don't really know. But for conversations with the defenders, we use only Signal, because it's 100% without Russian influence.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so if you were speaking to someone in America, someone in Mississippi where I live, about what Ukraine means to you, what your place means to you, what would you say to them?
Well, I think Ukraine for me is a place of freedom where I can live and where my children has to be, like in safe. And also, I have to tell you about.
It's okay. Go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So also, I have to tell you that we're feeling very grateful for support and for the participants on behalf of our. On behalf of your people for the Ukraine. So that's maybe it. It's a place, it's home. To see this place where you have to can come back and feel like it's safe. It's where your like children, wife, family, all of your friends are happy and can be together. So.
Yeah. Well, what you're describing is where I live. What you're describing is what I would say about the place that I live in. And what inspires me about what you guys are willing to do for each other is the same thing that I see here in coastal Mississippi, where neighbor is willing to help neighbor, and we come to each other's, we're very resilient. And what I've learned about Ukrainians is you guys are really resilient, unbelievably resilient. Lori, that's the thing that keeps you going, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that without resilience, like the human race, like wouldn't even continue. I think it's just human nature to come back from whatever's come at you.
And yeah, that ability to bounce back, that ability to stay connected with one another and rebuild or whatever it is you have to do. But we're out of time for now. But Lori, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you. It's good to see you. Lori's an independent missionary in Western Ukraine, and her friend Zhenya, who is coming to us from Lviv, who he went there to be with his family. But he's, on behalf of this volunteer effort, has been all over the country helping in whatever way he can. Before the war, he was a digital marketing specialist, and now he's a driver for this effort. So people are helping in different ways. But God bless both of you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing both of you again, for sure. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.